I'm John.
And I'm Random, and this is Inside Cannabis, where we take a look back at the top cannabis news you need to know about.
Zimbabwe legalizes marijuana for medical use. According to the Independent News in the UK, Zimbabwe has now made it legal to produce marijuana for medical and scientific uses. Production and possession previously led to 12 years in prison. Zimbabwe has been considering legalization for a number of months and will now become one of the first few African countries to turn the production of cannabis into revenue.
Dude, I saw this come across on the wire. I was just on my phone, and I was like, you know what? We never talk about Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about, I mean, I've never been to Africa, but like, talk about a place where like it could just grow freely in the wild almost. When we talk about like what's going to be competition in our world, Israel is going to start exporting, right? No one ever talks about like, oh, dude, we'll just grow it all in Africa. Like, I can't wait to see like some like high quality cannabis strains coming out of Africa. And I mean, think about the genetics that are potentially down there. I'm super excited. Obviously, I'm excited for the people there, that people aren't going to jail. Anytime, I love this news, and I love that we keep getting this kind of good news more and more often.
Exactly, and this could prove to be a really good tourist opportunity for them. I mean, the revenue that Zimbabwe and any other country in Africa that decides to go down this path could really benefit from the extra revenue. So, I mean, good on you.
It's a real renewable resource that can be exported.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like Africa is so known for where we're digging minerals out of the ground, taking things that aren't getting replenished. This is something that given the quality and of the labor that you have down there, it really seems like this could be huge for them getting in this early when Canada's about to tip, we already know they're tipping, and the U.S. is about to totally tip.
Exactly. And I mean, how easy would it be for, an average African to just start a farm? I mean, the costs are just almost,
I think the biggest thing is still down there, obviously, crime is like, how do you protect that crop from just disappearing? But if they can get that handled, it could be very, very good for not just a few people, but this could be good for the entire country.
Absolutely, I agree.
Well, in other news, Donald Trump says individual states can decide whether to legalize marijuana. According to the New York Times, President Trump has again announced that he is in full support of medical marijuana and that legalization of recreational use should be left to the states to decide. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said the president supports states' rights despite a threat made 3 months ago by the U.S. Attorney Jeff Sessions. Oh, this is news that's like, you and Jeffy are fighting. I'm sorry. There's obviously other news. This is not a political show, and so we don't get into the other things going on between President Trump and Jeff Sessions, but it was really refreshing to once again hear kind of the Trump that the medical and recreational cannabis hoped for.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, well, I'm not saying he's the candidate I voted for, but he gets it. He gets states' rights. He's all about that, because it was a total flip-flop right after the election. And so I do think this, and it definitely has shown, Jeff Sessions, I haven't heard a peep out of him about cannabis in forever, especially since this announcement.
Yeah, no, exactly. I feel like the whole relationship between Trump and Jeff Sessions, I think, is kind of on ice, and I think that's a lot of the reason why he's keeping quiet. And it also hurts, that Trump supporters who are for legalization, and then they see Sessions, step in. So there's a little bit of the base getting upset. So Trump's obviously got to keep his base happy and trying to be as non-political as possible. What else are you going to expect out of this administration besides this flip-flopping? It's not surprising, and I guess we'll see. And like we have talked about on this show, anybody, I don't care what political side you're coming from, if we get you on our side of legalization, I'm always willing to accept anybody who comes along, and even Trump.
I like it that sounds weird, because like I like, you are like, anybody come swim in the pool, we're totally down. My thing is like, I'm like, anyone can come swim in the pool, but I'm going to call you out when you pissed in the pool. Like, there's not like, and so that's my only thing is like, dude, yes, thanks for realizing this, but let's call a spade a spade. So, but anyways, I'm glad that at least things. I mean, dude, we did shows about like, okay, they're gonna come. Like, we're gonna get loud. We're gonna fight this. Like, no, guys, you are not taking away you're not gonna come into our states and do this again. Because trust me, we lived through that before. And so I'm glad that. I really do think Trump's base, a lot of them are pot smokers. I don't think people want to admit that, but no, there is a huge base of cannabis people that still voted for Trump, and I think maybe it took him several months to realize that.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think you're speaking truth. I've seen it. I've seen people that I know personally that are Trump supporters and who also smoke, and you know, so we'll see where it goes. Camilla Harris endorses Marijuana Justice Act. CNN reported that the U.S. Senator announced her support for the act this Thursday. She then tweeted, "Making marijuana legal at the federal level is the smart thing to do, and it's the right thing to do." She said she believes marijuana laws should be applied and enforced in the same way for all people.
Amen. Amen. So this is the scenarios where I try and explain to people what's going to happen. People sit there and be like, well, Trump's in office, you're never going to get legalization. And I'm like, no, Canada's going to fall, and this is how we're going to get legalization. Something's going to get pushed through with the courts, or someone's going to get pushed through the Senate, and like where you literally don't need the president involved whatsoever. I don't know enough about politics and those kind of things of how it all works with closed doors, but it's very, very clear that the next big thing, we're over 30 states now. It's not going to be, you're not going to get to 49 legal states and then the federal government's like, okay. So, I mean, we are so pushing on this door for them to get it figured out. And I think anybody who is in the industry, and obviously the people that watch the show, need to realize if you're like, you need to be making financial decisions based around this. And I think that's the one thing where people sit there and, well, we only grow in our state, so we're only competing with those people. Man, this happens, and interstate commerce. Anybody can get in. Like someone can find a state. Here's an example. Okay, we've been dealing with Washington state laws up here, shows filmed in Washington. Oregon, anybody can just get a license. It can be all outside money. It doesn't matter, right? So anybody can grow there. Across the board, very friendly to it. That any company from anywhere in the country can open up in Oregon and now ship to all 50 states. Like that. Right. And I mean, when I click that fast. And so that's the thing that I think everybody needs to start taking into consideration. It's like, and I'm calling it out, guys, Nevada, guys, every grower needs to realize this is going to happen, and you growing and paying big AC bills is not going to pencil long term. So please be ready. We don't like seeing people get hurt or go out of business or lose their life savings. We want everybody to be successful in this industry.
Exactly. No, I agree. And it's just no longer that hot button issue that it once was. You know, it's not dividing people's opinions. Yeah, exactly. It's something that whether you smoke or not, there's a lot of people, you know, on the side of legalization. Let's just get it done with. Let's stop locking people up, and let's make some sweet weed money.
Yeah. I mean, shit, let's start. I mean, we just talked about Africa selling it, bringing it here. Dude, guys, we could be on the forefront of selling it everywhere else. Canada's definitely trying to do that. Anyways, in other news, marijuana industry says seniors are the next budding market. According to the Huffington Post, the number of baby boomers who smoke cannabis is on the rise. Chief Financial Officer of Eden Extract says that they are a quarter of his customer base, but their habits have changed. Traditionally, they were fond of joints, but they are now purchasing more and more vape pens to avoid the lingering smell. What do you think, John?
Well, who would have guessed that baby boomers smoked weed? I mean, that blows my mind.
Not to say anything, I want to know the age of the financial officer, because from being in this industry, coming up on a decade, all baby boomers smoke. There's like the outliers that don't or whatever, but at some point, every baby boomer tried weed. So the thing is like, that feels like somebody coming from the producer processor side that isn't seeing who walks in every day. The tracking of who's buying cannabis, once you get to recreational and they just have to show their ID, is, oh, well, they type in a date of birth into the computer. Do you think that date of birth is always typed in correctly? And is it easier to type in 1950 instead of 1996? Yeah. And so I think that I guess that's the thing is, I would say, what is the generation before baby boomer? Is that the great generation?
The greatest generation.
Yeah, the generation.
Yeah.
Like, I will agree. Some of those people are now coming online, which is where like I haven't tried it in like 50 years and very medical based and those kind of things. But like I can see that they're seeing that more baby boomers are now smoking concentrates. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Obviously, the younger generation caught on to concentrates before, and so obviously everyone's talked about expect cartridges and vaping to continually increase. But let's be honest, guys, 85% of the market in Washington and nationally on a whole is still flower. Like it is the kingpin, good on you edibles, good on you vape, good on you, like you go guys. But let's be realistic. It's still we are all flower children.
Yeah, well, for sure. And I think it's funny that now we're finding out, baby boomers smoke.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the baby boomers are now openly admitting to smoking, or you're seeing them going into the stores, and it's kind of telling that they're getting the thing that doesn't have the lingering smell and that they can conceal because they've been concealing the fact that they've smoked.
So I find it actually funny about that is like, no, baby boomers have had the hookup for 40 years. Like they either were growing or knew a guy, and so they don't need to go to the stores. And it's just more and more of them are like, man, this isn't worth the work, or I lost Jeff's phone number. I don't know what's up with me and Jeff today, but like anyway, so and so I totally agree that it's dude, they are not becoming smokers. They have been smokers.
Yeah, they're just coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally believe it. In other news, Illinois bill would use medical marijuana to fight opioids. Illinois lawmakers are considering a proposal that would expand the use of medical marijuana to fight the state's opioid crisis. The bill overwhelmingly passed in the Senate. The Illinois House Rules Committee has now been asked to review the legislation. The Senate bill would allow individuals who qualify for opioid prescriptions to apply for the state's medical cannabis program.
I think this is a great thing. Anytime we can get our country's issue of opioid down, helping people for the horrible things that's doing, I will take anything. If you want people to literally, like, I can't think of have to eat cheeseburgers to get down on the, like anything to stop what Big Pharma did, I'm 100%, you are saving lives, you are repairing families, you're saving communities, anything that they can do. And the fact that they would like require them to do it, 100%. And I completely agree. I like the fact that it's literally like, oh, you want this, I'm using Vicodin, that may not even be the right thing, but you want these Vicodin pills, that's cool. Here's now your prescription, and now here's some weed along so that you don't get addicted to this.
Exactly. No, I 100% agree with you. We are living in, this is a crisis, and it's not just something that, us, small majority people are screaming about. This is huge. The numbers are there. Big Pharma, as you said, has pushed this without any sort of conscience about what's going to happen to these people by filling them up with an exorbitant amount of opioid prescriptions.
It was, I think it was 800 million pills just
West
in Virginia.
West Virginia.
That was on there. And like when you sit there and think about how many people are in West Virginia, and that's like how many pills per person at all, and then you take away like small children, and it's even crazier. It's deplorable. But the fact that these are lawmakers with straight up show me the facts. Every state that's had medical marijuana has had decreasing opioids. Number two, the longer you have medical marijuana, the further the decrease. Like it just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
We're in Washington State. We've had medical cannabis since 1996. If I'm wrong on that date, you can scream at me, internet. I totally apologize in advance. I'm pretty sure California was 95. We are 96. Sure, yeah. Okay, so we're one of the few states that has the least opioid epidemic here, and it still destroys people's lives.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And so to think of, I can't even imagine, because I haven't been to West Virginia or states that it is just demolished.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how bad it is because of how bad it is here.
Exactly. No. So anything to decrease that, I am all for. And it's, even better because it is cannabis, and this is something that we've known that, I mean, not only will it help you with eating and all these other things, but now it can get you off opioids. I mean, that's like, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna just say it. It's a miracle. You know, it really is.
Well, guys, that's all the time we have this week on Inside Cannabis. I'm Random.
And I'm John, and we'll see you next Saturday where we take a look back at the latest cannabis news.